Hey guys, welcome back to the Ligonier Valley Model Railroad. If you've seen our last video, you'd know that our construction techniques include L-girder benchwork and Homasote Spline roadbed. And today I'm going to go into a little closer detail on how the Homasote Spline roadbed goes together, so you can see how easy it is and the advantages there are to using this system. And we're also going to look at gluing down some Central Valley ties and some of the advantages to using that. It actually all comes together in the planning process. So we really want to have our ties on hand when we're laying our roadbed. And I don't know if we can see it here. Let me move the camera just a little bit. Let's see if you can see my marks here on the roadbed. There's, let's see, one right here. It's a little tricky when you don't have a cameraman. And we've got one here, and you can see that we stepped off our roadbed. A couple pieces here. We just made it a little bit wider. We're going to have a number 7 right-hand turnout here. It's going to start here. If I lay the ties on the roadbed, we can see where we need to have the roadbed underneath. And it doesn't fit real perfect here. The roadbed curves just a little bit, and the ties are very straight, if you can see that. The nice thing about these Central Valley ties is we can cut some of these stringers that are between the ties, and we'll be able to curve that just a hair so it'll follow this curve smooth, the track will flow nice. This tie section is going to end here, and you can see that we have further down, I'll move my camera again. There we go. Further down we have a piece here that needs to be extended down, and then one more here. And that actually gives us 3 pieces of Homasote spline. That's going to be to support the track. That's the actual roadbed. And there's 3 more here for the main line. And there's a 1/2 inch piece in the middle that gives us a 2-inch track spacing between the center lines of the track. So as we come down this way, we actually use that center piece, or that spacer, to support these ties coming off the turnout. Before I do that part, I'm going to come down here because we have another track here that's actually our passenger station siding, and I need to put in that spacer in between. It's going to run from here, which is where we're going to disappear and go into our staging. And we'll have the 1/2 inch spacer come all the way down. I've got 3 loose ends here, and somewhere in here I need to put a turnout. I haven't exactly figured out where that was. The flexibility of the system allows me to figure out where I want it as it's all going together. To do that, just like this with this number 7 right hand, we have a number 6 left hand. These are the Central Valley ties. It's actually a part of a turnout kit. They're very nice turnouts. They operate very well when they're all together. And they're not too difficult to put together. And very rewarding. As I look here, well, here we have a curve again. And this, you see, I can cut some of these stringers out, and we can curve these ties and then lay our rail accordingly. And so somewhere right in here, we want to curve this off into our siding for our passenger station. And we'll have that 1/2 inch gap here. So I'm gonna, just for now, say maybe we want to be about here, maybe even a little further back. I can always run my roadbed back further if I move my ties forward. We can either cut some of that out later, or we can just blend it into the scenery. But we definitely want to be somewhere right in here. Nice curved turnout rolling in. We've got a curve here coming from a steel mill area. As the track curves around, it'll just roll slightly tighter and take us right down here. I don't want to get an S curve there. So I'm going to back it up and kind of eyeball my center line here straight down the diverging route of those ties, and glide right into the main line. So probably right about there is where we want to be. And of course that length is going to change just a hair when we curve our ties. I'm just going to take a pen, a little mark here. That's the tail end of those ties, and that's a number 6 left. That's just a little note for me, so I get all my ties back in the right place. And one of the great advantages of this system, I've got some odds and ends pieces here. They're kind of short, 12 inches, maybe 14. Here's a longer piece, a bit of a curve to it. None of these are scraps. I can use these pieces anywhere I need to, especially if we're using them for track spacers, because they're just filling in the gaps. They're going to get screwed in there, squeezed in. When it's all screwed together, really, for the most part, they're just holding up ballast. So I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to line it up in here and get a rough idea. It looks pretty good. The curve works to our advantage. It runs us down to about here. And this edge, which you maybe can't see, might have to hire a cameraman if we're going to keep these up. This edge we're going to line up right at the end of the ties here. And I'm going to grab an 1.5 inch screw, and I'm going to run a screw in right about here to hold that. And then I'm just going to work my way along about every 4 or 6 inches. Like these will be in the middle, so even maybe every 8 inches. We'll screw this in all the way down to here. You'll notice it looks like it's going to be tricky to put a screw in down here. I have to move you back up again. When we get down into this area, it's going to be a little tricky to get a screw in here. Well, it appears that way. But this piece here hasn't been screwed to the risers, so it's easy to lift it right up and out of the way. That's how flexible this stuff is. I'll be right back with a screw. There we go. One thing you want to do is try and get the tops as level as you can. That's the critical part of it. This being a centerpiece, it's a little more critical here than it is along the length. As we get a little further along, run this in. This impact driver works really nice for these. As we get further along, if it sits a little lower than the main lines, it's okay. It gives us somewhat of a drainage ditch in between the tracks. Depending on the prototype, that may or may not be appropriate. I'm going to continue and run screws in this all the way down to here. And when I get down here, I'm going to take a few of these shorter pieces that are leftovers. I'm going to fit them in so that I've got a little spacer in all the way down to where beyond where my staging begins.